Hi guys, NFL 49ers. This is not going to be so much about the 49ers per se, but it will relate to the 49ers, okay? I just finished a video where I was talking about two options for replacing Kyle Shanahan. And I said it's either Mike Rabel from the Tennessee Titans or Sean Payton from Saints. And I said that the 49ers now need to do what they did with... the 49ers needs to do what the Cowboys have done. Cowboys was struggling for years with bad coaching. Ineffective coaching. And Garrett and a few others. Well, Garrett was there for 8, 9, 10 years? Jeez. The Cowboys went out and said, you know what? We're going to get a good coach. Who's out there? Who can we go and get? The 49ers needs to do the same thing, and they need to go out there and get either Rabel or Sean Payton. But I want to take a 5 minutes, 10 minutes video and not dedicate it to the Dallas Cowboys, but Dallas Cowboys is a team that I like. If I was to want to rank 2 or 3 teams that I like, that I follow, the 49ers are, of course, the club and the team in my heart, and that means everything. And then I have a couple of teams that I'm like, okay, if the 49ers is not going to the Super Bowl, which other team do I root for? Well, the other teams that I root for is, ding, 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 Dallas Cowboys and the Saints. I like both of them. So I'm going to give a little bit of a praise to the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm going to look into what the Cowboys have done and what the 49ers can learn from that and what they should learn from that, which they did back in the day when they went out and got Harbaugh. I'm not saying that Harbaugh is the right guy. I'm not saying that. Harbaugh could come back and do good. Don't get me wrong. I think that Harbaugh with this team could do good. But I think right now I want to go with Sean Payton or Rabel. But let's look at what Cowboys did. Cowboys was having mediocre seasons, bad seasons. They maybe had a couple of good seasons when Romo was there. Dak came in, had a good year. Dak came in, did good, got hurt. The team fell apart. They did some good drafting, but they didn't have the coach. All hail to Garrett. He's a good offensive coordinator, but he's not. He's doing good with the New York Giants, even with a Giants team that doesn't have a lot of players to rely on. They are a mediocre team, but he's still pulling off some stuff here and there. And Jones seems to be doing okay. So, Garrett is a good offensive coordinator, but head coach, he was not. Not at that point in time. He can become, maybe. But this is about the Cowboys. They fired Garrett and Jerry, the owner, who I really like. I like Jerry as an owner. He shows what an owner should be. But he kind of slipped on the pillow of Garrett for a while. Maybe 4 or 5 years too long. But over the course of decades, Jerry has been a very good owner for the Dallas Cowboys. And I like his style. And he's a likable dude. They went out and they found a coach. It's like, okay, Garrett is gone. Who can come in and take over this team? What is our vision? What do we want to see happen to our team? They did a very risky thing, okay? They went out and they said, okay, let's find out coach. And they were looking. And I think several names came up. But there was one name that came up on the paper. And they knew that, of course, that guy had tremendous experience in the NFL. And that was McCarthy. He had experience from the Packers. He had taken them to the Super Bowl. He had won the Super Bowl. And he's been, coaching one of the biggest and the greatest QBs that has played the game in Aaron Rodgers. So, and even, I think he was there when Brett Favre was there too, I think. So, he has a lot of experience. However, it was risky because McCarthy was one of the first coaches in real modern time that kind of suffered from what I call the NFL cancel culture. I feel that McCarthy was wrongly treated by the Packers and by the players and by the fans. I don't think his sacking was warranted the way it was. you could say that, well, lack of result, blah blah blah. Okay, I still think that he deserved another year to show if he could come back. But it is what it is. But I think he was one of those very first ones to be affected by what we call today the cancel culture. I think he was canceled from NFL, and he took a low line, and he took a laid back line. He did not go back into the NFL. Something really bad happened there. He did not. I don't think he wanted to go back in there. He wanted to get some distance from NFL, and maybe he said to himself, you know what, I'm going to take a year or 2 or 3 off. And I'm going to come back and see if I can do something again. I think that the Dallas Cowboys was the blessing in disguise for McCarthy. And I think McCarthy was the blessing in disguise for the Cowboys. And I think they were a very good match. And I think they are a very good match. The owner and McCarthy, they're very two similar guys. Strong-minded, a lot of willpower, a lot of vision. And for the first time in decades, I saw when this was when the news was leaked that the Cowboys had signed McCarthy, you could feel that they had this was an organization and a front office and a coach with his staff that kind of had the same vision, and they kind of melted together to form this one identity. And it didn't come to fruition last year. It didn't really blossom last year. But I think that had a lot to say with Dak Prescott being hurt and losing a large part of the season. Because you've seen this year, it's totally different. But you see that when you come in as a coach, it's going to take a year or two before you kind of you put your stamp on the play and on the players and on the team. And it's going to take a couple of years before the team responds to what you want them to do. Because you go in, you assess what you have, and then you go, okay, for the next draft, this is what we need. For now, we have to sign some free agents that are maybe not up to the standard that we want, but they're there. They're bodies. They have a body temperature, so you know what? It's okay. Just put them in there. We just need to get through this year. And I feel that was what they did last year. It's let's get through this year, evaluate what we have, see where we stand, injuries-wise, who's coming back next year, contracts, what are the size of the contract, who needs an extension, who deserves an extension, who should be cut, who should be traded, and what do we have to do in the trade, in the draft. And I think that the Cowboys always have been a little bit flip-floppy when it comes to the draft. They have maybe done one draft that was that's what they needed and that was good. But beside that, they've kind of been flip-floppy. They did very good when they drafted Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. And they drafted a center at one point. Those 3 was good drafts. And of course, CD Lamb. But they have also done some, but we see now what bringing in an experienced coach means to a club. When a club is in a rebuild mode, you can't. If you're rebuilding your team and your organization and your club, you can't bring in someone who doesn't have any NFL experience. You can't bring in college coaches. You can't bring in a promoted defensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator. If you want to rebuild your team and you want to create something, you have to find a coach that are very knowledgeable, have a load of experience, who have worked with some of the biggest names in the business and the industry. McCarthy did that. He worked with Aaron Rodgers. He won a Super Bowl. He managed one of the most influential teams ever. One of the biggest organizations ever. And he did it for years. So he comes in, he takes reins over the Dallas Cowboys. You can see, not so much last year, but you could see last year that what he wanted to try and do. Was he successful? No. I didn't think he would and I didn't have any doubt that he wouldn't be successful. I said, hey, give him a year or two, and let's get Dak settled down. We'll come back from injuries. Let's get Dak some more weapons. Let's get a viable backup to Ezekiel. And I felt that last year Schultz as a tight end wasn't like really that developed, or it didn't show much signs. But last year I said they need a good tight end. And Schultz this year has really, really taken the step up to become better. So right now, there's not many like pressing issues at the Cowboys, but maybe they can develop their offensive line a little bit to give Dak some more protection. Maybe they need another pass rusher, edge rusher, stuff like that, and maybe a corner, just to have backups and alternatives. But right now, I can see the flow, I can see the structure of the team, and I can see what McCarthy wants to do. And I tell you, what he's doing is kind of like he's taking some of the best things he did with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in the Super Bowl year, where they won, and you can see him merging that with some of the new stuff that some of the teams that have been successful for the last 2 years, 3 years, have been doing. He's clearly been sitting at home, studying teams, what works, what don't work, where's the trend going now. So he's kind of mixed that up, and you see it in the games. I have been very, very positively surprised by the Dallas Cowboys, and they are one of my favorite teams. So when if the 49ers are not playing on my local TV, but the Dallas Cowboys are, that's the team I follow. If the 49ers are not going to the Super Bowl or the playoffs, but the Cowboys are, guess who I'm rooting for? The Cowboys. So it's very important to have experience, but you can't just get experience from your head coach. You also have to have people that are willing to soak up what he's willing to give on the field and in the owner's organization, but also in the coaching staff. So you have position coaches, and they have to look at McCarthy and go like, I see his vision. I see what he's trying to do. I see his mentality. I see his mindset. I feel it. And you know what? I'm totally in on that. So as a head coach, it's not just about, designing plays or play calling or clock management. It's also man management. And you have to man manage your players. And you have to man manage your coaching staff and your analytics and whatever. But you also have to kind of like, maybe not coach your owners, but, it's kind of like coaching your owners. You tell the owner like, hey, this is why we're doing this. And, hey, follow me on this. If we draft this player, we can do this and this and this. And, here's my vision for that. So you're kind of coaching your owners as well. And I feel that his three-way communication, players, coaching staff, and ownership, is very, very good. And you only get that with an experienced coach. You won't get that with a positional coach that comes in and like, okay, Mr. Swabby Wooby, you've been offensive coordinator for 2 years. We like your style, so you can become a head coach. That's not going to fly. That never flies. And even look at Saleh. Saleh is a very experienced and very good defensive coordinator. So you would think that when he takes over the Jets, that the Jets would become a very good defensive team. And he has been around Kyle to know enough about offensive play calling and how to run things as a head coach. But he doesn't. He didn't bring that. He brings the attitude, yes. But attitude can only bring you so far and only get you so far. Experience. Being there, doing it year after year with players of different calibers, with owners of different calibers, of team structures of different structures. He doesn't have that. Yes, he has been to a few clubs here and there and a few teams here and there, but he doesn't have what it takes to be a head coach. Maybe he will be in 2 or 3 years down the road if the Jets lets him. But that's the problem with these teams. They bring these position coaches in, the coordinators in as head coaches, and they give them a year or two, and then it's like, no, it's not good enough. It didn't work out. And you see it time after time. Only a few times has it ever worked. And that is when you have the right guy. But you have to have the right guy. And you have an owner or a team or an organization that are willing to give it 3 or 4 years. Like in Matt LaFleur's scenario. But you see what McCarthy is doing to the Dallas Cowboys. This is something the 49ers needs to do. And we did it once, so we can do it again. We were lucky when we brought Jim Harbaugh in. He was exactly what we needed. He had the right mindset. He had a little bit of experience, a lot of experience with football. But, he was a college coach in practical terms. That's where he did his job. But he was an NFL coach trapped in a college coach body. So when he got the job in the NFL, everything just opened up. And you find those guys every now and then. But that's like every freaking one coach every 2 or 3 decades. You have to have experience. So the 49ers now have to go out and they have to do a Dallas Cowboy experiment. And they have to do a Dallas Cowboy turnaround. It worked for the Dallas Cowboys. It can work for us. And what do I mean by that? Well, if we can go out and find ourselves our little McCarthy, which will be either Rabel or Sean Payton. Stay away from college coaches. Stay away from position coaches. You have to have a coach with a lot of experience. And not some dinky doodle team that are a losing team every year. We can't have these head coaches that's been, with the Washington Redskins or Washington football team or the Jaguars or, these small dinky teams. Even if they've been head coaches there for 2 or 3 or 4 years in the NFL. It's a reason why that team is not doing any good. So don't look for those. We have to get the position back in our own division as the number one. We are the number one team in the NFC West. So how can we do that? Well, you go and you get either Rabel or Sean Payton. That's my take on it. Do you agree? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like my vision of how to deal with football and sports, please subscribe. Please like my videos. Make comments. Let me know what you think about the situation that the 49ers are in. Or if you're a Manchester United fan or a Memphis Grizzlies fan, please let me know. We cover a lot of teams here. So until next time, guys, take care.